All right. Thank you for making the effort, and good afternoon. What are we going to start with? Hold on a second. Our Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, is in Geneva today, as we announced she would be. She's meeting with the UN leadership from various UN entities in Geneva. Their discussions focus largely on how the system can better support member states to deliver on the many important summits that will take place in September. In her executive briefing to member states, she shared the importance of the forthcoming SDG summit, encouraging member states to reach for the highest ambition possible and ensure support to the transition, which will accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Outcomes from the summit must dovetail into the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights if we are to ensure that we leave no one behind, Ms. Mohammed said. On Saturday, tomorrow, she will head to Lisbon in Portugal on behalf of the Secretary General to participate in the opening, alongside with Prime Minister Antonio Costa of Portugal, at the conference organized by the World Intellectual Property Organization entitled Thinking About Industrial Property, Sustainability, and the Future of the Planet. On Monday, which I'll remind you is an official holiday in our host country and therefore a holiday in this very building, and I don't expect to see any of you here on Monday. But Monday is also, very importantly, the official day of Peacekeepers, and we mark today 75 years of UN peacekeeping, celebrating this year with the theme Peace Begins With Me. In his message, the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, says that peacekeepers face rising global tensions and divides and stagnating peace processes and more complex conflicts. Despite these obstacles and working with a wide range of partners, peacekeepers persevere. And just to flag that today, the Department of Peace Operations participate in a special Inside Out art activation in Times Square, right here in New York City. The Inside Out project was founded by artists known as JR to help communities around the world to stand up for what they believe in. Please do take a look at the exhibit. It is quite interesting, to say the least. Trip announcement also related to peacekeeping. Starting this Sunday, the 28th, and until June 7th, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the Undersecretary General, Head of Peace Operations, will be traveling to Africa to conduct a series of engagements with troop contributing and police contributing countries. He will also visit our peacekeeping missions in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He will go to Luanda and in Angola, along with Bintou Keita, the head of the peacekeeping operations in the DRC. They will be there for high-level discussions on strengthening relations between Angola and the United Nations, as well as efforts towards a lasting peace and security in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Mr. Lacroix will also travel to Zambia to discuss the country's contributions to UN peace operations, as well as regional and political dynamics. Finally, Mr. Lacroix will head to the eastern part of the DRC and to the capital Kinshasa to hold consultations with Congolese authorities, notably on the development of options for MONUSCO's reconfiguration and the mission's presence in the country. Moving to Europe and to Ukraine, the humanitarian coordinator there, Denise Brown, strongly condemned an attack that hit a hospital this morning in Dnipro. Our humanitarian partners are on the ground providing emergency response to the survivors. Today's attacks have also reportedly impacted health facilities in Donetsk City, currently under Russian military control, and that's according to the authorities there. We, along with our humanitarian partners, continue to reach more people with assistance across the country. By the end of April, we've reached 5.4 million men, women, and children, around 800,000 people, more than the total number of assisted by the end of March. More than 60% of those reached are women and girls. The Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs notes that hundreds of humanitarian organizations are involved in this effort. Local groups and community-based volunteers play a vital role in delivering assistance. Moving to Sudan, we, along with our partners, are continuing to help families displaced by the fighting, as well as the communities hosting them. WFP has now reached more than 600,000 vulnerable people with food and nutrition aid since restarting distributions in the country. In 3 states in the Darfur region, north, south, and east, WFP has now reached 180,000 people. The agency is planning to start distributions in central Darfur in the coming days. As of today, WFP has resumed distributions in Blue Nile State. In addition to that, during the past 2 weeks, the World Health Organization has verified 8 new reports of attacks on healthcare facilities. That's 38 attacks since this round of fighting erupted in Sudan. Heading south to the Central African Republic, our humanitarian coordinator there, Mohammed Ag-Ayoya, condemned recent attacks on humanitarian workers and renewed our call for the protection of civilians and health facilities in the country. On Wednesday, a driver was killed when he and his colleagues were attacked on their way back from Amdafok in the north of the country after setting up tents for a healthcare center. As we've mentioned the town of Amdafok, which borders Sudan, is currently hosting 13,000 people, and including Sudanese asylum seekers. Since the beginning of the year, 57 incidents against humanitarian workers or assets have been recorded in the Central African Republic, while 17 health facilities have been the target of armed groups and looting. And as a reminder, any attacks on healthcare facilities is contrary to international law, as if that needed to be said. Turning to just moving South Africa, the UN team there, led by our resident coordinator, Nelson Mufu, is supporting the government to contain and prevent the spread of deadly cholera outbreak. Through the work of UNICEF and the World Health Organization, the UN country team has deployed 7 technical officers to impacted provinces, providing crucial support and coordination with case management, data management, infection prevention and control. The team has launched a campaign along with national authorities to raise awareness among local communities on preventive measures that can be taken to stop the spread of this disease. UNICEF has also activated a digital platform reaching about 230,000 registered users with tips on how to fight and prevent cholera. Meanwhile, WHO will assist in identifying transmission sources and supporting surveillance efforts, including case-based evidence in close coordination with health authorities. And a mention from the World Health Organization that says that Africa's largest polio vaccination campaign since 2020 gets underway today and aims to immunize 21 million children under the age of 5 throughout the continent. Vaccinations are starting in Cameroon, Chad, and Niger before being extended to the Central African Republic next week. The campaign comes in response to 14 detections of the polio virus this year. No cases were reported in Cameroon, but the country has joined the vaccination campaign to avert any potential spread of the virus, particularly in the border areas. The Lake Chad region, which includes 3 of the 4 target countries, is home to one of the highest proportions of the so-called zero-dose children who are either unvaccinated or under-vaccinated. Quick note from Yemen, where 3 UN agencies warned today that nearly all districts under the control of government of Yemen were assessed to be facing a high level of food insecurity. FAO, UNICEF, and the World Food Program all say that Yemen remains one of the most food insecure countries globally, mainly driven by the impact of conflict and economic decline. It is estimated that during this current year, 500,000 children will be acutely malnourished. The agency says that the outlook for the period between now and to the end of the year indicates a need for far more program investment and more money. And just earlier today, our colleagues in Istanbul, the Joint Coordination Center, issued an update that said that it had today registered 2 vessels, including a WFP ship heading to the port of Odessa. Since April 29th, the Joint Coordination Center has not reached consensus to register vessels to move to the port of Yuzhny Pivdeny. There are currently 13 vessels being loaded in Ukrainian ports, 6 in Chormorsk, 7 in Odessa, and more details can be found on the more details can be found on the in the release from our colleagues. And lastly, little Friday geography quiz from our quiz meisters. Don't roll your eyes at me, Edie Lederer. From Jane Gaffney, who's really outdone herself today. Kind of testing your Wordle skills to work out the 111th member state, paid its annual dues. 5 letters in Wordle, but this country has 7. The first and fifth letter is A and N. Middle letters are L, B, and A. It is exactly. Very good, Edie. Very good. You see? Excellent. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, Steph. 2 follow-ups on Sudan. First, you said that WFP was reaching 600,000 since they restarted, and then you mentioned 180,000 people in Darfur. Is the 180,000 part of the 600,000?
Yes, my understanding is that it is.
Secondly, what is the latest UN understanding on the warring sides in Sudan keeping the truce?
Well, I mean, I think the latest information is that there's still some sporadic fighting. We are not officially monitoring the truce, and our humanitarian colleagues are exploiting any lull in the fighting or to deliver humanitarian aid. But people in different parts of the country are continuing to suffer tremendously.
We know that the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency is going to be here on Tuesday, Rafael Grossi. I'm sure many of us would like to have an opportunity to ask him some questions. Can you please pass that on to the relevant people?
We will be delighted to pass that on. Ms. Salome.
Thank you, Steph. Any reaction from the Secretary General? Serbia has ordered its army to the border in Kosovo. There's been clashes with protesters there. We had a Serbian foreign minister calling on our air, calling on, awareness of the UN and
Yeah, I will
NATO
check. I haven't seen anything on that, but I will check and get back to you. Yeah. Mr. Burkati.
Thank you, Stéphane. I have a question regarding Mr. Grossi's visit. Did he share his security plan regarding the situation on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant with the UN officials?
I'm not sure he's shared it with the Secretary General, but I will check. But I'm not aware that that he has.
Thank you very much, Stéphane. Yesterday, on the grain deal. Yesterday, Russian foreign minister said that if there is no progress on the issue of reconnecting Rossellhozbank to the SWIFT system, it will have to find the alternatives to the grain deal. And Deputy Russian Foreign Minister Vershinin also said that Russia appreciated the efforts of the Secretary General and Rebecca Greenspan on the implementation of Russian part of grain deal. So, but he said there is a efforts, but there is no real results yet. So, do you have any to comment? And please, are there any scheduled contacts on this regard from the side of the Secretary General and Rebecca Greenspan team? Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Grigori. Well, I can tell you that Rebecca Greenspan, her team, are continuing to work full steam ahead to ensure the full implementation of the MOU signed with the Russian Federation. I mean, one aspect and one example that I can give you of her work is what they're doing with the African Export-Import Bank to design a trade finance platform to enable efficient transactions between Russian exporters of food and fertilizers and African buyers. It is clear that the re-inclusion of the Russian banks involved in the trade in fertilizer and food, which are not under sanctions, would facilitate the implementation. But as you well know, that's not a decision that is within the UN's own wheelhouse. We're trying to push things forward on different tracks, all with the same aim of getting as much food and fertilizer to those who desperately need it. Happy Friday. I will leave this podium to Paulina. See you Tuesday. Enjoy the long weekend. Sorry, I bring a lot of stuff to the podium.